Hello there, welcome to another edition of the EOB Podcast. So last weekend we have the release of, I believe, 2 movies. We have the Melissa McCarthy comedy, the Happytime Murders, and then we have the sci-fi action-adventure movie A.X.L. Let's see how those movies did at the box office. Okay, let's jump right in. So coming in at number 1 is Crazy Rich Asians. It repeated at the top spot. It pulled in about 25 million over the weekend. I mean, the drop-off is pretty good. About 6% from the previous weekend. Remember, Crazy Rich Asians opened on a Wednesday. It pulled in about 26 million, during its opening frame. That's like 3 days, and I believe about 36 million, 5 days. So I said the movie could probably open to maybe 40 to 45 million or something crazy like that, because I believed in the hype. You couldn't open a news site or turn on the TV talk shows. They were all promoting this movie because, Crazy Rich Asians, it's the first movie in 25 years to feature an all-Asian cast. This is a big deal. And people were kind of hoping that good things can happen to it, because the reviews were good for this movie, like awesome, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and a cinema score. And they say, according to some critics, say this is a return to the rom-com, and the 26 million opening is pretty good opening for a rom-com, because the rom-com has fallen out of favor, in Hollywood these recent years. So that's why there's all this hype generated. And the opening, of course, there are some that say that there are people that are buying out theaters to support this movie. Whatever, it did its job. The second weekend, we're getting a great second weekend. I believe there were some people waiting out the first weekend saying, how will this movie do? Could it be just like a gimmick that they're doing this for, like gimmick casting, all Asian cast? Those people who were on the fence before went out to watch it on the second weekend. So stronghold, about 6% drop off from the previous weekend. So stronghold, so it held on to the top spot. So there you go, Crazy Rich Asians. And a sequel is in development, by the way. John M. Chu, the director, and the producers, the writers are all on board. Still very early. There's no script yet, but presumably it's going to be based on the second book, Crazy Rich Girlfriend, which further the story of Constance Wu's character and Henry Golding. All right, let's move on to number 2. It is kind of like the most surprising movie of the year, which is the Meg. It was short for the Megalodon, prehistoric Asian gigantic shark, starring Jason Statham and some Asian actors, Li Bingbing in particular. One of these movies that just came out of nowhere. If you tell me that a movie that costs 130 million to 150 million to make and will star Jason Statham and Li Bingbing, it's going to feature the Megalodon, a giant shark, and it's going to do this well, I wouldn't believe you. I would laugh in your face. The people who got the last laugh are the people behind this movie. They know something I don't. So this is a high budget shark movie with Jason Statham. It opened to 45 million. It continues to do well. This is its third weekend, right? It pulled in 13 million in its third weekend, 38% drop off from the previous weekend. So the hold is strong, 105 million so far. And worldwide, it has already grossed 408 million. So doing well, especially overseas. China, I say it was a China play, but it's doing exceptionally well in China as well. 117 million of that in China and counting. All right, let's move on to number 3, which is one of the new releases last weekend, the Happytime Murders. It stars Melissa McCarthy. It's about her being a cop. She has to team up with a cop that's actually a Muppet. It didn't do that well. the movie opened to 10 million, and it is one of the probably the lowest openers in Melissa McCarthy's recent filmography. And we thought that her Life of the Party at around 18 million opening is low. This one's even lower at 10 million. So I don't know why who came up with the idea to team her up with Muppets in an R-rated comedy like this with Muppets. And I said the movie could probably put in 20 to 25 million. And that was again me not doing my homework. That's because that's what her comedies usually open to, and she has her fans. But maybe this movie with Muppets is probably a bridge too far. People couldn't get over that hump about watching her with Muppets. And nothing against Muppets, by the way, but it's not something that audiences, moviegoers look for when they go out in theaters. It's that thing, they think that Muppets are for kids, right? There you go. Happytime Murders, 10 million, one of the lowest opening in Melissa McCarthy's recent filmography. And I don't think she'll be doing, movies with Muppets anytime soon based on this. But you never know, right? You never know. And this movie is produced by her husband, Ben Falcone, among one of the producers, and herself. So this is her. Whatever fault this movie has is all on her. It's her choice, by the way. It's her choice. All right, let's move on to number 4, Mission Impossible Fallout. That's doing extremely well, holding on extremely well. 8 million over the weekend. Domestic gross is 193 million, and worldwide is at 538 million. And let's see. Right now, and it looks like it's gonna beat out Rogue Nation domestically, and Rogue Nation is at 195 million. This one at 93. You'll probably cross that in the a day or two. All right, let's move on to number 5. It's Disney's Christopher Robin, pulled in about 6.3 million over the weekend. Drop off is about 29% from the previous weekend. 77 million domestic growth so far, and worldwide is at 114 million. All right. Number 6 is Miles 22. It's the Mark Wahlberg Peter Berg collaboration actioner, with the raids. What's his name? The raids. Iko Ukwai. Yeah, with the raids Iko Ukwai. In this as well, pulling about 6 million over the weekend. Drop off is about 56% in the second weekend. So action movie. Drop off of that number is expected, right? And domestic gross is about 25 million. The budget's about 50. We'll see if it can reach there, but probably not. And worldwide is at 31 million. It hasn't opened up that wide overseas yet. Okay, let's move on to number 7, which is the action adventure movie Alpha. About a guy who got lost from his tribe. I believe it takes place during the prehistoric time or ancient times, whatever, cavemen. About him, befriending a wolf, and I guess that's that's where people living with animals began, right? Living with wolves, dogs. That's Alpha. It pulled in about 5.6 million in the second weekend. Drop off is about 46%. 20 million domestic growth so far, and let's see worldwide. It hasn't opened that wide overseas yet, so about 27 million worldwide. All right, so that's Alpha. Okay, number 8 is BlacKkKlansman. It's Spike Lee's new movie. Pulled in about 5.3 million in its third weekend. Drop off is about 28% from the previous weekend. 32 million domestic gross so far, and the movie only cost 50 million. And this is one of Spike Lee's better performers at the box office. Okay, number 9 is A.X.L. It is the movie about a guy, a motor bike racing guy and his robotic dog. He found a dog in somewhere, and then the people who made the dog, it was used as a weapon, want it back, and they started off this chase. Right? It pulled in about 2.9 million. Open to. I said the movie could probably open between 5 to 8 million. I was kind of off there because, hey, some people will want to watch this, right? Because a robotic dog, right? But I guess even with my low expectations, it went even lower, 2.9 million for A.X.L. And let's close out the top 10 with Slender Man. It's the horror movie by Sony Screen Gems. Put in about 2.8 million in its third weekend. Drop off is about 42%, and domestic gross is about 25 million, but the budget is only 10 million. So hey, Slender Man's already pulling in a profit, making a profit for Sony. All right. That's it for the top 10. Let's move on to the new releases. We're going to have about 3. One is opening on a Wednesday, which is Operation Finale. And then we have Kin. It's a kind of like a low budget sci-fi actioner. And then we have the Searching. Let's start off with Operation Finale. So Operation Finale stars Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley. This movie is about a Mossad agent, Israeli, agent who hunts Nazis after the war. And this one, is focused on Isaac's Peter McCann, who's off to, I think, Argentina to capture Adolf Eichmann, the guy who came up with the plan or the logistics to transport Jews to the concentration camps. He's one of the bigger bad guys, during the war, right? He escaped to Argentina, and Isaac has to assemble a team to go scope, out the surroundings and try to, get him back to stand trial in Israel. Reviews are good so far, 62% at Rotten Tomatoes, but this movie, it doesn't have that wide of an appeal. This is about World War II. This is about capturing Nazis. It's not an action movie per se. It's more like a thriller. So I think it's one of these smaller dramas. So I think 3 to 5 million for 3 days, 7 to 8 million 5 days. So that's how it is, right? It's not a blockbuster. This movie is not gonna open that huge. All right, let's move on to Searching. This movie is anchored by John Cho. He of the Harold and Kumar movies, right? Written and directed by Nish Chigante. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is his feature debut, and produced by Timur Bekmambetov. I hope, again, I'm probably butchering these names. He directed the Night Watch and Day Watch movies. Russian director. So it's kind of another movie that's kind of like a feature an Asian lead. Kind of like Crazy Rich Asians, except it doesn't have that wide of an appeal like a rom-com, right? It's not an uplifting movie. It's about John Cho plays a father who's searching for his missing daughter. She went missing, and he kind of went online, I guess, to search for clues. I read the news that director John M. Chu and Henry Golding, the people from A Crazy Rich Asians, they're going to support this movie by buying out theaters, right? I don't know how much effect that will be, right? But again, I think this Searching is a movie that even if it doesn't star John Cho, if it stars somebody else, I don't see this movie having that wide of an appeal because of the type of movie it is, right? So I think this movie could probably open to somewhere between 5 to 10 million, I believe, at the lower end of that, right? But if John M. Chu's and Henry Golding's effort pays off, among others, by the way. Other pays off, it could probably reach to the higher end of the opening that way, 10 million or so. So we'll see. So 5 to 10 million opening for Searching. All right, let's move on to Ken. It is kind of a sci-fi movie, actioner, starring Jack Renner, Zoe Kravitz, Carrie Coon, Dennis Quaid is here, James Franco is back to play the bad guy, and then Miles Truitt is the kind of like the lead here, and I guess Truitt plays this guy who found alien technology, very powerful. And then Jack Renner plays his stepbrother, older stepbrother who got his run-in with the law, recently got out of jail, right? Got in trouble with the local, bad guy played by James Franco. Quaid is the dad. And so they went on this run. Truitt and Raynor went on a run because they're being chased by bad guys and the people who want this technology, kind of low budget sci-fi action movie. I believe this movie could probably open somewhere between 8 to 10 million, maybe, or lower. It could be lower because we are in August, and August the movies generally open lower because people are back in school. They don't want to watch a movie. They don't have time to watch movies, pretty much. So there you go, 8 to 10 million for Ken. All right, another short one for this week. Tune in next week to see how I did with my projections. Until then, take care. Bye bye.